What's good, everyone, and welcome back to another reaction video. Today we're going to be reacting to Revenge That Went Wrong. Now, this is pretty self-explanatory. Basically, this is the event of when you're planning to do revenge, but in the end, it turns around and bites you in the ass. That is the bluntest way I can even say it. You go in, try to commit revenge against someone, it doesn't turn out good, and you're suffering the consequences. Yeah, so pretty self-explanatory. So yeah, with this said, I hope you all enjoy this reaction video. If you did, hit the like button down below, hit the subscribe button to support the channel, support the content provided, and so on and so forth. Hit the notification button, be notified immediately when a new video comes out. And if you have any videos you would like to recommend that I should react to, put it down in the comment section below and I'll react to it as soon as possible. Don't worry, I will react to it. You have my word on that. So, yeah, with this said, again, the link to this video is going to be down in the description. So, again, love and support for the creator for making this video that I'm reacting to. And, yeah, now let's start this video.
We all love hearing about cheaters who get exactly what they deserve, or bad bosses being
Oh,
publicly humiliated,
yeah.
or horrible friends being thoroughly exposed. But these revenge plots and calculated acts of sabotage don't always go to plan, which is somehow even more entertaining. From bad dads who
Mm-hmm.
tried and failed to humiliate their families, to cheaters who got the ultimate lesson in karma, it's time to go through some revenge plots that went really wrong. Bad Penergy. Have you ever had a bad boss? Maybe they snowed you under with work they knew you couldn't do in
Mm, neglectful. Not really bad. Unless neglectful does count, then yes, I have.
time, or blamed you for something that wasn't your fault. Well, if you have, then this next story is for you. Back in
Eh.
2021, Andreas Flatten quit his job at OK Luxury Auto Works in Georgia. He claimed the job had a pretty toxic culture, and so decided to move on. However, his boss, Miles Walker, refused to give him his final paycheck. After he went silent on the matter, Andreas went to the Department of Labor, asking after the $915 Miles owed him. Then, a few weeks later, Andreas opened his door and discovered a gigantic pile of pennies on his driveway, which were covered in oil, along with his last paycheck that had a pretty nasty expletive scrawled on the front. Shocked, he and his girlfriend painstakingly shoveled every last penny into a wheelbarrow, realizing that this must be the way Miles had decided to pay him, in some 91,500 greasy pennies. It was a pretty childish form of revenge, but Andreas had no choice but to deal with it. So he got in touch with Coinstar, a coin collecting company, who agreed to collect the pennies and exchange them for bills. But they also asked if they could post a press release about the unusual incident on their website, as it made them look very good. Andreas said
Okay.
yes, not thinking much of it, but this press release got the attention of local and then national media, who all then covered the story, dragging Miles and his business through the dirt. Miles tried
Ooh.
to discredit the press release by posting a lot of nasty stuff about Andreas on the company website. But that's when the Department of Labor caught wind of the situation. Seeing the pennies, the press release, and their website slander, they then sued Miles for unfair retaliation against an employee. But as they were filing through this and going through Miles's records, they noticed he hadn't been paying his workers overtime, which he was required to do by law. As such, they slapped him with an eye-watering $40,000 bill in back pay to all the workers he'd screwed over. He was forced to cough over the full amount, all while national tabloids covered the story of his disgrace and one-star reviews began to flood his business pages, which he might have avoided if only he hadn't stooped to such a petty attempt at revenge.
Gotta admit, that is the most pettiest person I have ever heard of. Like, jeez. You wouldn't think people would be so petty at times, but here they are, proving us wrong every step of the way. How annoying that must be. Well, the only thing I can say is good riddance to that guy. I mean, not paying for overtime and so much other stuff sounds like a real piece of work.
These bros ain't loyal. It's pretty rare that you find a story where someone admits not only to cheating in a relationship, but that they were wrong. And yet, I found one. And boy, is it juicy. A now deleted Reddit user, who I'll call Mark, posted that he was once in a serious relationship with a girl called Carly. It started off sweet, and they had each other's backs, and Carly even helped him pay off some of his debt. She clearly cared about him a lot. But they hit a rough patch, and while they tried to fix it by talking and going to therapy, Mark decided to cope by cheating on her with Kara, her childhood best friend. Mark blamed Carly on their relationship deteriorating, but he assumed he was being real smart about cheating on her, and that by hiding all the evidence, like texts and calls, Carly would never find out. So imagine his shock when one day Carly sat him down and very calmly asked if he was cheating on her. Panicked, he immediately lied and denied it all, but she just laughed, saying she didn't think he'd admit it, and that she just wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt. Why? Well, because Kara, feeling guilty, had broken down and shown her their messages a few weeks back. It was only then, when he was cornered, that Mark guiltily admitted it. She just shrugged and said, "It's fine. Oh, by the way, Louie and I are going out tonight. I've been seeing him since last week. Don't be here when I get back." That's when Mark's heart
Damn.
sank, because Louie was his big brother. Not just that, Louie was the golden child of the family, the one that everyone adored. Mark had always felt insecure next
Gosh,
to him, and
damn.
now it turned out Carly had been seeing him to get back at Mark for his affair with Kara. Okay, that sounds like she just leveled the playing field, except Carly knew that she could just block Kara and never have to see her again. But Louie and Mark were family. They were around each other all the time. Family events, birthdays, celebrations, and what's worse, he couldn't tell his family about it because he knew how much worse that would make him look. Carly had made sure he'd never forget about how he wronged her, or how badly his own cheating had backfired on him. Man, talk about keeping it in the family. Between Mark and
Hmm.
Miles, whose revenge do you think backfired the worst? For cheater Mark, hit that like button. And for bad boss Miles, hit the subscribe button down below. All done? Great.
I can't say who's the one that revenge went wrong the most. I think it's more of the boss. I mean, if he was like a better boss, he would like not have like everything fall down on him. Corporation, getting the government on your ass, and so on and so forth. If he managed to actually be a decent human being, bam, wouldn't have to deal with this. Now, well, it's kind of obvious now. Who deserved it more? Both. I don't like cheaters, and I don't like assholes that decides to F everyone over. Both deserve it. Both can go to hell, and I wouldn't care. Because they decided to be the worst people around. Like, seriously. If you say they don't deserve it, all this suffering they're going through right now, then yeah, that's gonna be an issue. Because they definitely do deserve this kind of punishment, if not a bit more.
So, what have we got next? Major misfire. If there's one thing you don't mess around with, it's guns. I could sit around and lecture you on gun safety all day, but I'll let Reddit user Golden Silver 61's story do the talking. Back in the late 90s, Golden was a counselor at a Boy Scout summer camp, with one of his jobs being a director of the camp's rifle range. He was very clear with the kids about where to aim the rifles they were given, up or down the range. Never at another person, loaded or unloaded. It didn't matter. Anyone who pointed a gun at someone else would be kicked off the range for good. Well,
Hmm.
for all his warnings, one day, one kid decided it would be funny to point the gun at his friend. Golden sprinted over, grabbed the rifle, and booted the kid from the range. But he was not happy, yelling at Golden and threatening to call his dad, who was a cop. Golden couldn't have cared less, ripping up his range pass and sending him on his way. A few hours later, a patrol car rocked up to the camp and a very angry looking cop got out. Golden could see the kid smirking. Clearly, this was his father, and he looked like he was about to give Golden a piece of his mind. The cop then approached Golden and began screaming at him, telling him he had no right to revoke his son's rifle pass and to let him back on the range that instant. Golden let the cop rant on, and when he was finally done, he simply asked, "Did your son tell you why I ripped up his pass?" But the cop didn't have an answer, and suddenly the kid looked nervous. Golden then told the cop his own son had been pointing the rifle at his friend, and the cop went red with anger. Not at Golden, but at his son. He turned on his heel and screamed at the boy to get in the car, because that was the end of his time at camp. The cop then apologized profusely to Golden and drove off with his crying, sniveling son in tow. Oh boy, mishandling a firearm and embarrassing your cop dad. I'd be amazed if that kid wasn't grounded for life. Pretty pennies.
Honestly, if this is recent, then what the hell are the kids of this generation becoming, thinking that pulling a gun is an okay thing? What the hell is wrong with the world today? I swear, it's maddening.
Man, people who try and get their revenge with pennies don't realize just how easily the script can get flipped on them, as it's recently happened to another loser. Back in 2021, 18-year-old Avery Sanford saw a car with a trailer pull up to her family's house. As she walked out, she watched a man she didn't recognize dump thousands of pennies on their lawn. She called her mom out, who asked the man what was happening, and he snidely replied, "This is your last child support payment." Having not seen him in years, neither of them recognized the man as Avery's father. As Avery had just turned 18 and so no longer qualified for child support from her father, he had dumped the final $800 payment of pennies on their lawn in an attempt to horribly embarrass them both before driving away laughing. It was incredibly cruel, and Avery felt like her father, who she barely knew, wanted to humiliate her personally. But Avery's mother told her not to worry. They were going to turn this into a good thing. They sorted through the coins and donated every last penny to a domestic abuse shelter, which presumably has something to do with why Avery's mom left her horrible father in the first place. After the
Huh, so that's the case. So this is what burning rage feels like.
donation was made, local news covered the small story, where it quickly picked up steam and went to the national papers. There, thousands of people saw the high road that Avery and her mom had taken, and donations to the shelter came flooding in, which fueled even more coverage. In just a few days, $47,000 was donated to the shelter from all over the world. Avery and her mom were painted as heroes. Her dad, on the other hand, oh boy. Countless journalists reached out to him for comment, and he quickly realized the mistake he'd made. He apologized and claimed he'd acted in frustration. The last thing he'd wanted to do was to drive a wedge further between him and his daughter, but the damage was done. Seeing how he'd tried to publicly disrespect her mom, Avery was quick to shoot down any chance of them ever reconciling. So not only did he destroy his reputation, but he also lost any chance of getting to know the incredible young woman, too. Nice one, dingus.
Why? Why is there so many people that just want to prove that they're on top or arrogant or anything like that? Honestly, if he's just gonna act this recklessly, this hasty, this idiotic for probably no good reason, then yeah, honestly, fully deserved the silent treatment. Permanent silent treatment, that is.
Cheat creep. Some people just love to gossip. So much so, they'll stick their nose into anyone's business, even that of people they don't know very well, just to have something to talk about.
True.
Although I reckon this next guy wished he'd kept his nose out of whatever business we're about to get into. A now deleted Reddit user account, who I'll call Anna, once worked in an office and was chatting with her colleagues in the break room. They were talking about how much they hated cheaters, and Anna agreed. Cheaters are the worst. All of a sudden, a coworker called Ken who she'd gotten a promotion over the year before but still didn't know very well, burst forward and screamed that she was a hypocrite. Confused, she asked what his problem was, and he showed the room his phone. And on it was a picture of Anna at a bar holding hands with another lady. Ken looked triumphant, like he'd gotten revenge. But at this point, Anna was incredibly creeped out. That was her and her girlfriend Ruby at the bar, but she hadn't seen Ken that night. So he'd been there covertly taking pictures of her, which, as they barely knew each other, gave her the willies. To the room, she said, yes, that was a picture of her and her partner, Ruby. Ken grinned and yelled that he knew she was actually dating a man called Simon and that she was cheating on him. All eyes were glued to Anna now, and boy was she annoyed. So she calmly confirmed that, yes, she was also dating Simon, and Simon and Ruby were also dating each other. The three of them were in a relationship together because they were polyamorous. Initially, Ken, now super embarrassed, refused to believe her until Anna got out pictures of the three of them together. Ken was so embarrassed, he turned beet red. She finished the interaction by saying to the room that while
Eh?
her private life was technically none of their business, she found it very creepy and unprofessional of Ken to take pictures of her without announcing his presence.
Eh?
Stalkerish, even. And then left the room. She could hear her colleagues all turn on Ken the second she left, having made them all look like they were talking behind her back, which they clearly had been. Anna then swiftly filed a report on the incident and went on about her day. She didn't think anything
Eh?
more of it until she received a message from her higher ups a week later. Apparently, they'd interviewed Ken and several others about the incident, and it had become clear that Ken simply wasn't a good fit for the company, and so he'd been let go. Yeah,
Eh?
sometimes it's better to just keep your nose to yourself.
Eh? I, what? Huh, I did not know people were okay with that kind of relationship. This is the first time I've heard someone actually being okay with that kind of relationship. To be fair, I don't didn't think anyone would actually be okay with that kind of relationship since, to be honest, who would want to share their partner, as many people have told me? Like, I have nothing against it, but it is surprising to hear about it. I mean, if it makes them happy, go for it, I guess. But yeah, it's surprising to hear, in all honesty.
April Fool. Pranks can be fun, but they're only fun if everyone's laughing, which is
True.
something the workers at a UK post office delivery branch weren't doing back in April 2023. It was during this time that post office staff were striking over wage rises, as the cost of living was fast outstripping what they were earning. This was also during a
Fair.
time where a scandal had rocked the post office, one where a software issue had wrongly placed many postmasters and mistresses in jeopardy after misreporting their takings, meaning many, over 900, were falsely prosecuted and some imprisoned. Between the strikes and the investigations, tensions were incredibly high. So, workers at a post office delivery branch in Gloucester North were delighted when they saw a poster had been put up by their manager claiming workers would receive a backdated 11% pay rise, along with a whole list of other conditions they'd been hoping for. As the poster
Okay.
instructed, many shared it on social media. Hundreds of other workers all breathed a huge sigh of relief. It was almost too good to be true. And then they realized what date it was. April 1st. April Fool's Day. In a tone deaf move, one of the managers had mocked up the poster to pull a prank on their striking staff. Now, the staff may have seen the funny side of it and been able to brush it off, but when
That's
it
effed
reached the
up.
internet, thousands of people were furious about how cruel and unfunny it was.
Yeah, that's like next level messed up shit. Like, honestly, it feels like the corporation is mocking them. I mean, I know a good joke and all that. Like maybe like a hand buzzer or like getting some plastic wrapping and putting it on top of someone's keyboard and when someone touches it, it's very sticky and all that. That's funny. That's humorous. That's funny. Everyone can laugh about it. Ha 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 ha. Yay, everyone laughing. Everyone's having a good time and all that. But no, stuff like that, yeah. Yeah, everyone would laugh about it and not see a big deal about it because it's a harmless joke. This is effed up. Like, no joke, this is effed up.
In the current climate. It even reached the tabloids, and national headlines ran with the story, which eventually forced the big bosses over at the Royal Mail to put out a statement, apologizing profusely, with statements from the now horrendously disgraced manager apologizing for their conduct. But even then, the public still called for the manager to be sacked. Oof. Well, when all his coworkers lost whatever respect they had for him, I hope he saw the funny side of it. Baby got trapped. Bringing kids into revenge plots is a low blow by any standard. And I say this as someone who's made videos on a lot of extreme revenge stories. Seriously,
Fair?
you can go check out the entire playlist I have dedicated to them on my channel. But when this
Oh, I remember some of them. Like the soldier. Yeah, that guy deserved better. He's fighting for a country and his partner cheated on him and did the whole crocodile tear thing just to get some sympathy from him. Honestly, that was effed up of them. That guy deserved better.
next, now deleted Reddit user decided to share his story that involved at least one kid, I couldn't not tell you guys. It's just unbelievable. So,
How
Dan had
unbelievable.
been together with his long-term partner Stacy for 4 years. They didn't have much
Okay,
money, but they were happy, or at least
fair.
Dan thought they were. Until one day, Stacy began acting distant. She
Hmm?
changed the password on her phone, spent hours messaging other people, and would often come home late from supposed work meetings. Sadly, having been cheated on before, Dan knew the signs and chalked it all up to her cheating on him. But he didn't have any concrete proof, so he didn't say anything, instead choosing to pretend it wasn't really happening. However, one day when he returned to their humble apartment, he realized all of Stacy's stuff was missing. She'd left him without so much as a text. He was crushed, but consoled himself with the fact that his gut instinct about her cheating had probably been right. He continued living his life, refusing to let it keep him down when, about 4 weeks later, something wild happened. He won the lottery. I guess he
Damn.
was due a bit of good luck. It wasn't mega millions, but enough to set him up for a good long while. He
Okay, that's actually nice. That's good. Feeling happy for him. Feeling happy for this guy. Honestly deserved it after that whole cheating thing.
moved out of his humble apartment, got the keys to a swanky new abode, and began dating a lovely young lady. They were getting ready to start a family together when one day, a good 7 months since they'd broken up, Stacy knocked on his door, heavily pregnant. She lay into him, claiming he'd hid the lottery winnings from her, and she'd had to track him down because the baby was his. He'd left her pregnant and stranded, and now, as revenge, it was his duty to provide a good lifestyle for her and their child, as she was due in a month. Initially, Dan was too stunned to speak. Hadn't she left him? And now, clearly, after hearing about his big win, she was just after the money. But this is where Dan flipped her wicked plot against her with 3 little words. But I'm infertile? Yep. As Dan and his new lady had
Ooh.
been trying to start a family, Dan had discovered he was, in fact, infertile. They'd initially been sad. This meant 2 things. 1, Stacy's baby couldn't be his, and 2, if she was, as she claimed, 8 months pregnant, then that confirmed that she had in fact been cheating on him while they were still together. Oh, mama. Stacy, flustered, stormed off and never darkened his doorway again, while Dan, his now wife, and their 2 adopted kids have never been happier.
Mm, I'm a bit sad that they couldn't have biological children, but adoption's a good option too. There are many cool kids that could use a new home, and nothing wrong with adoption. I have a few relatives that are adopted, and they're pretty cool. Always there for family and all that. So, yeah, I don't see anything wrong with that. Though I think it's still effed up that this lady decides to force him to, like, well, try to force him to pay for child support, even though it's impossible for him to even do that. Man, that guy deserved better. That probably hit like a mental thing within him about the fact that he couldn't actually help in reproduction. Because a lot of people that I know that are infertile, they sometimes are a bit sensitive about the subject, and for good reason. So I'm a bit concerned right there for that guy.
Sniper Wolf versus Jack's Films. If you've been on YouTube as long as I have, then you probably know Sniper Wolf, aka Leah Sheilish. Through gaming, trying out hacks,
Uh,
and reacting to videos,
a
she's
bit.
amassed more than 34 million followers on YouTube to date. Now, Leah reacts to a lot of videos from TikTok and YouTube, typically without crediting the original video owners, which has caused other YouTubers, such as Jack's Films, to call her out. With around 5 million followers at the time I'm making this,
Yeah, this is why I always give credit to the creators. I also give a shout out to Be Amazed. Like, I don't know a lot of the creators, mainly because I am terrible with names. I literally tell people this thing about me, my one problem when it comes to interacting with people socially, and that is if I do not get a large amount of interaction with someone and use their name more times than not, I tend to actually have problems remembering their name. And you know how many people actually get offended when I say that. I can't help it. It's like a problem that I have, okay? Jeez. I, I honestly don't like talking about the subject because so many people get on my case about it. I just am really bad with names and slow when it comes to remembering names. And it takes a while and the name to be used a bunch of times to even get it right.
he's reacted to Leah's reaction videos critiquing her video style and calling out her creditless takes. The situation soon escalated, with Leah hitting back at Jack with a series of tweets, calling him out for, reacting to her, and then Jack hit back, then Leah. Yeah, their digital beef got messy. But then Leah decided to take it a step further, and one incredibly dumb step at that. Now, Leah didn't know Jack in real life, but she did some digging, found his home address, and then turned up at his family's house unannounced. Did she knock on the door and ask to talk about their feud like adults? Did she heck? To one up her revenge, she posted a picture of his house on her Instagram stories to her 5 million followers, doxing him. Now, doxing is revealing identifying information with malicious intent, something that's really looked down on by.
And this is why I don't generally talk about my location and where I live, and so on and so forth. I mean, I would like to do something involving a camera showing my face, but a camera is a bit expensive to get. Like everything I have currently, it's more bearable in the low price, but an actual camera, ooh boy, those puppies are expensive these days. And I'm not lying when it comes to that.
By the internet community because of how dangerous it is. And considering Sniper Wolf revealed his house to her 5 million strong Instagram audience with an ominous "let's talk" message attached, yeah, that's pretty threatening if you ask me. While it's not illegal, doxing is considered adjacent to crimes like harassment and stalking, something Jack was not going to let go. Even though the pics disappeared from Leah's stories, Jack doubled down on the ordeal. He made a video and several tweets about it, which went viral. Big commentary YouTubers covered the story, lambasting Leah's actions, and people contacted YouTube demanding she be held accountable. YouTube eventually struck her Sniper Wolf channel with temporary demonetization, costing her thousands of dollars. And while she'd initially defended her actions, she suddenly backtracked and publicly apologized. But the damage was done. The backlash was so severe that she's since turned off the comments to all of her latest videos, and where she would once routinely upload some 4 or 5 times a week, that's dropped down to just once a week at the time I'm making this video. She's cemented her reputation as an internet villain, all because she wanted to get back at Jack. Looks like Sniper's aim was off. Way off. Kate Corain.
Honestly, the subject of reaction is a very gray area, I'll admit. Original content is one thing, but reactions is something that should be taken seriously. Everyone should give credit, no matter what, to the original creator. It's something that everyone should do, and if they don't want certain stuff up, then the creators should tell these people to take down certain videos that they don't like. I feel like that is the best way to go about it. That's just me, so I can't really say for sure if it's the best way, but that's how I think it should go. So, yeah.
Being a new author is hard work in this day and age. Competition
Mm,
is fierce, and getting people to buy your book instead of other new authors in the same category is an uphill battle.
that
And
is
that was a
true.
pressure that aspiring author Kate Corain really felt back in 2023. Her debut fantasy book, Crown of Starlight, was being released along with the works of many other new fantasy authors. However, Kate felt insecure and decided she needed to give her book an edge. Not by trying some fancy new marketing technique, but by sabotaging her fellow debut authors. She headed
What?
over to the book review website Goodreads and created a bunch of fake anonymous accounts. She then systematically went after other authors whose books were in the same category as Crown of Starlight and gave each of them 1-star reviews. She then repeated this process hundreds of times, purposefully reducing the average rating of at least 20 books. She thought she'd gotten away with it. However, Canadian author Jiran J. Zhao noticed something weird about what had been happening. Because the accounts leaving 1-star reviews on all these new books had also left glowing 5-star reviews on Crown of Starlight. Kate had been so arrogant she figured she may as well boost her own book while tearing down others. Jiran then documented everything in a 31-page file and shared it with the community, accusing Kate of strategically review bombing in a tweet that went viral. Kate's
Mm,
plan backfired on a catastrophic level, but instead of admitting what she did, she unbelievably dug the hole deeper.
how
She
deep?
created a fake chat log with an imaginary friend who she claimed admitted to her that she'd done it to try to help her, and then shared the screenshots. Either she hoped the community was too trusting and or too stupid to see that this was fake, but they were neither, and they refused to believe Kate. Amidst all the controversy, Kate's publisher quickly announced they would no longer be releasing Crown of Starlight, her agency dropped her, and the community turned its back on her. In a desperate attempt to
Damn.
salvage something, Kate came clean. She released an apology, blaming her actions on a mixture of new medication and bad mental health. Here's the kicker, though. All of the authors she'd review bombed had been people of color. So essentially, her
Ooh.
apology looked like she was saying her medication made her racist. Yikes. Kate's gone quiet since then, and I know.
Yeah. The second he said that, I realized the problem immediately. And that would be the issue. So, yeah, don't do this. Do not listen to Kate. Do not follow Kate's example on what to do. Honestly, it is a way to backfire on everything you've done, and everyone is going to hate your guts. Do not follow her example.
A vast portion of the book loving community will hope it stays that way. Love stings. Breakups can really, really hurt. Trust me. But some hurt more than others.
Some might. Though if it's out of a toxic relationship, then yeah, you're pretty much good. Believe me, I don't know about getting out of a somewhat toxic relationship. I guess somewhat is more of a key point because I don't know. It's kind of toxic, but also not, and it's a mixing. It's a mixed, confusing thing. Maybe I don't know. Discussion on that on Valentine's Day. Nah.
Others, as one woman who we'll call Ingong in Cambodia discovered back in 2015. She had been dating her boyfriend Chan for a while,
Hmm.
but after his family discovered Ingong had previously been arrested for jewelry theft and illegal substance related crimes, They convinced him to break it off. She was heartbroken, but also hell bent on getting revenge. They took a short break, then met up at Chan's home a few days later and decided to go for a motorbike ride, with her as a passenger sat on the back. Neither of them was wearing a helmet, which would have saved them not just from a crash, but from what Ingong was about to do. As they were traveling, she pulled out a plastic bottle, which, so this video doesn't get struck down by the YouTube algorithm, had a malicious substance in it and went to vengefully pour it over his head as he was driving. If she couldn't have him, no one could. The only problem is that when you're traveling at high speeds, wind makes pouring liquids on a target very hard, and long story short, that malicious substance blew back into her own face. A little did get on Chan's face, and he stopped the bike immediately. Screaming in pain, she fled the scene. Chan was taken to a hospital where he made a full recovery and a police report.
Okay.
And before long, there was a pretty serious warrant out for Ingong's arrest. Looks like she got a face full of karma. Which of these revenge plots do you think backfired the hardest? Let me know down in the comments below, and thanks for watching.
The biggest, huh? Tough one. That is a tough one, in all honesty. A lot of the revenge stuff that went wrong are well deserved. All the cheating ones, yes, I felt like that was deserved for one reason or another. Gun thing, I'm a bit ticked about that. Talking about a relationship? It has to be this one. It's the April Fool's joke. That's just, to me, that just seems way, way worse. Because that just seems so unnecessary and so detestable that it just makes me annoyed just thinking about it. I mean, these people literally made a prank just for the shits and giggles of it all. It's annoying just to think about it. Like, why would someone just go out of their way to do some effed up stuff like this? It's honestly infuriating. So yeah, I'm gonna say this is the worst one on the list. Because that just seems effed up beyond belief. Tell me what you think is the worst thing that someone did on this list. Because I think the worst thing done, as I said, is this one. It was effed up and they deserved to, like, everything to just hit back at them. People needed a better living, they needed help, and all that, and they just decided to squander it. So I hope you all enjoyed this reaction video from beginning to end. If you did, hit the like button down below, hit the subscribe button to support the channel, support the content provided, and so on and so forth. Hit the notification button, be notified immediately when a video comes out. And yeah, tell me what you think was the most well-deserved and what was the worst one on the list. Because this is the most deserved one. This deserved everything that went wrong with it. That is to say, this is the best revenge that went wrong. Well, I'm confusing myself. Yeah, anyway, that was the best one. The mediocre one of the bunch. Honestly, getting on someone's relationship status. Honestly, it's like the least problematic one. No, how do I phrase this? It is the less serious one, but I still think it's really bad and really effed up that someone actually spied on her relationship and all that. It is none of their concern to even get involved with a subject like that, especially when they're a complete stranger to the subject themselves. That's like all types of messed up. And I hate that someone actually decided to do that. Yeah, that is like, So, yeah, with this all said, I hope you all enjoy, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.